Hey, good morning, afternoon, or evening, good people, wherever you are, wherever you happen to be, and however we're together. Thanks for being here. I'm Dave, and this is Dave's Head. So, what's in my head? So, this past weekend, my TO and I did a little bit of spring cleaning, if you will, in our garage. We had other places that we were going to do around the house, but we kind of started in the garage, and it was very time consuming and extensive. So, it, uh, it took most of the day. And so we didn't get to the other parts of the house, which is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. You may remember I did do some spring cleaning last year with my TO, and I might have talked about it on here. I'm not sure if I did or not. But last year, I think I got 7 or 8 quote unquote exceptions. And these exemptions are if there's something that my TO wants me to get rid of, but I want to keep it, check the exemption box. So this year, I had 7 of them. Last year, I think I started out with 7, and I think I might have used like 15. I don't know. It was some over the top number. It was way too many exceptions I used last year, and so I had to rein myself in this year, and my TL reined me in too. But I had 7 of them to start. I only used 2. Um, I think I was characterized as being a good sport and cooperative, compliant with TO with some of the suggestions to get rid of some things. And there's also, you go through a garage and you go through box after box and tote after tote and all these tools I have and all these things from the last house because I was, did my own handiwork. So I have all these tools. I got like drain snakes, like snake drains, all type stuff. And so going through all this stuff, I found things like, family memories. I got pictures, I got stuff from my uncles who've passed, my grandmother who's passed, cousins, got all these things. Something that I actually have as like the family keeper of, some of the history of my family or accomplishments of people who passed on. And I collect things too, like obituaries and birthday cards and a bit of a pack rat. I know, I hear you. I can hear my TO in my ear right now. But family memories, right? Obviously, going to have a lot of that stuff probably in your garage. You probably have a lot of that stuff too, so don't feel bad about it. My Boy Scout uniform. So yes, I was a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout growing up. Um, I don't think my Boy Scout uniform can fit me anymore. I think it'd be pretty unsightly in a level of tightness that it would be. But I found the uniform. I was ordered the arrow, so I have the arrow still, the sash for the ordered arrow. Finding that stuff. And the shirt still is that mustard yellow color. It's not faded or too bad. Now the white order arrow thing is kind of like yellow at this point. But it's kind of cool to be nostalgic and find those type of things. The number one, the very number one thing that I found was my high school senior class picture. If you're a product of the '90s like I am, you did the double picture thing, right? Where you had one picture where you're looking one way, and then they put another picture in that picture and you're looking like the other way, or maybe even the same way. But it's kind of like this halo-y picture comical thing that every single body did back then. Thankfully, nobody does that stuff now. Um, but it was kind of cool. And if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, you see I put that picture up. Um, it's comical. Not to mention Babyface, like zero hair, facial hair anyway. I had actual hair back then. And again, I'm bald intentionally. I could let my hair grow out. It would take a while at this point just because of what I've all the shavings done to my head. But Babyface, I'm talking smooth skin, no pock marks, no pimples, no nothing. Like just baby bottom smooth. Yes, if you're watching YouTube or Spotify, I just did the hand signal of smacking a baby on the butt. I don't know why I just did that. But my high school picture was the coolest thing I think I found just because, it reminds you of that youth, right? It reminds you that one time you were just a scrawny kid, baby face, just bright eyed view of the world and no experience with anything. What's interesting though is, and I'll admit this, I'll come to the conclusion and admit this, that you realize when you do these things, spring cleaning, garages, storage space, crawl space, attics, whatever, or just around the house, how much stuff like stuff you have that you don't necessarily need. Just I had literally a whole nother knife set, whole nother two sets of dishes, wine glasses, beer mugs. I mean, I got all these things just sitting in the garage. Now part of it was intentional, because when I buy the next house, it was gonna be, oh, I don't have to buy these things, and I'll use the stuff I have now. But I think I just finally made the decision. We made the decision this weekend. Let's start using this stuff. We'll get new stuff when we move. But just stuff like just squeeze toys and tools that I just will never use again. Because one specific example, if you ever done recessed lighting, install your own recessed lighting, there's a thing that you can get to drill the holes in the ceiling, and it also comes with a plastic catch thing to catch all the dust and everything from falling just into the air on the floor. Yeah, I still have that in one of my tool totes, just for no reason. But you have how much stuff that you don't need. And what it sparked in my head was, if I could live, I don't know if you ever seen, I don't know if it's Discovery, one of those channels, if you could live a minimalist life, right? So they have the tiny homes. They have, there's another one where you live a minimalist life, like out in the woods, forests, reserves, whatever. But if you could live, or if I could live a minimalist life, I'm talking a laptop, because I have probably like 4 laptops, a whole computer, I got all types of stuff. A laptop, a phone, um, you know, one room living or trailer or something like that, or mobile home even, but a very minimalist life, just what I need. So I like to buy things in twos. So one glass, one plate. Like, could you live that way? Could I live that way? Or am I so accustomed to just having stuff, a bunch of stuff, whether I need it or not, that that would be something that's hard for me to do? I think back to 2001, 2002 ish time frame when I lived in Northeast Philadelphia. For those familiar with the geography of Northeast Philadelphia, I lived directly across the street from Northeast High School, which is off of Cotman Avenue and Northeast Philly. I had a studio apartment. I paid $425 per month for it, included all utilities. I think the only other bills I had back then was cable, because I paid for cable, and then cell phone. Nothing else did I have, and I think student loans back then. Nothing else did I have a commitment to per month. Even I didn't have a car back then. And that's probably the last time I could think I didn't have a ton of stuff because of the studio. I think there was like one closet, a pantry closet, and then there was a like a hang your clothes closet, that type of closet, and then a bathroom. The kitchen was encapsulated in the same space that the quote unquote bedroom was, because it's a studio. And so that's the last time I could think I didn't have a plethora of stuff, like just stuff to have stuff. And that's the type, for me, that would be the minimalist life. That would be going back to, having the least amount of stuff that I need, simply just because I need it. I remember I went from, I think I had a TV stand, like talking like a 5-foot TV, or not 5 foot, like a 12-inch TV stand, like just enough to hold a little TV. And then I went to some furniture place and got this huge, huge, like glass shelves on both ends, recessed lighting in the top, space up top, drawers, pull out, doors, all type stuff. Upgraded my TV, but now I have this studio with this big ass entertainment center and big TV, but I'm still living in a studio, right? And then I moved to a 1 bedroom, and the rest is history. But even that, I didn't need. Now it did offer me one thing, that big entertainment center. It gave me more storage space because I could put stuff in drawers and I could put stuff in the cabinets that were in there. So it did offer me that. And then I had shelves for just random stuff as well. But could I live that minimalist life? And remind you, this is spring cleaning, so there's still a whole other round we could probably do. We could probably get rid of more stuff if we so desired. And so it was interesting to do the spring cleaning. We put it on the calendar. We said, we got to put things on the calendar because, admittedly, I'm busy as hell. And so we put it on the calendar. We said Saturday we're gonna do the spring cleaning. We got in there 10 o'clock. Around 10 o'clock we started. I think we finished around 3 or 4, and then I did some yard work as well. So probably like 5 or something like that. Maybe we were done with everything. But But spring cleaning is kind of cool. I mean, you kind of take a little walk down memory lane with some of the things, kind of like, oh, I remember this, that type of stuff. Before I get to the last thing in my head, Dave's Ed Podcast is now part of the Alive Podcast Network, home of Black voices, where community, culture, and creatives live. Dave's Ed Podcast adds to the catalog of over 70 titles available in the Live Podcast Network app and for both iOS and Android. Check out Dave's Ed Podcast and many others in the Alive Podcast app, the home of Black voices. The last thing that's on my mind is this concept of Divorceaversary. And so a Facebook memory over the weekend popped up, and it showed me that my quote unquote Divorceaversary was, from a couple years ago when I was divorced, was this past weekend. The date that I got the official notice. And I only know this because I posted something on social media about it, of course, right? But this whole concept, number one, I didn't know that there was a whole Divorceaversary thing. I didn't know it was actually celebrated. Like, I actually asked people over the weekend when I saw this memory, and I shared it again, and I asked people if this was a whole thing. And there are people who commented and said, yeah, I actually do this on my Divorceaversary. I celebrate with this. I do that. I had no idea that was a thing that people did or wanted to do. And I get it. Different people have different styles, different traumas, different ways of coping and getting through. But there's a lot of people that do this. The day that they got their papers or the day they filed or whatever situation it is, they call their Divorceaversary, and they actually make a big deal out of it. Now, obviously, I did not do that. I didn't even realize it was a thing until I saw the memory. But people actually do. People actually celebrate their quote unquote Divorceaversary. Number two, well, obviously, I know that I'm divorced from my only marriage that I was in. A great thing, I think, is that I'm so far removed from that I didn't realize that it even happened this time of the year. Like, it just did not pop up in my mind. It didn't, I didn't notice a calendar entry or an email or anything like that from this time period. It just, wasn't even on my mind. And I think that's the beauty about the path that we walk. The lessons that, we learn from the past, they remain with you. So hopefully that you don't make the same mistake again, number one. But the farther you walk on your path, the less meaningful that thing that created that lesson is. And eventually, there's no meaningful existence at all in your life from that thing. But the lesson, hopefully, is still a part of who you are going forward. That's kind of what I took from the memory popping up. One, it was just like, wait, this is a thing. But not that it resurfaced a negative chapter in my life or anything like that. But more so, it reminded me just how happy and loved I am in this current chapter. That's important. But it's also a great thing. And if there's anything at all to celebrate, it's that. So cheers to that. And that's what's in my head. So one thing, or one topic I should say, that kind of gets floated around a lot is generational wealth. And so what is generational wealth? Forbes.com defines generational wealth as assets and financial resources passed from one generation to the next. It differs from concepts like financial freedom, they say, which refers to the immediate enjoyment of life. In contrast, generational wealth refers to a legacy that can include tangible assets, a business, real estate, investments, and other income-producing instruments that you can hand down, end quote. In an article that they have, 4 real estate strategies to build generational wealth, they talk about these 4 strategies, and I'll touch on these 4 before I get to my guest for this episode. The first one they talk about is invest in a real estate syndication, something I had never heard of before. I actually started doing this research. But real estate syndications are effectively pools of investors who will purchase a commercial or multifamily building, often apartments. The project lead or the general partner does all the work, while the investors, who are known as limited partners, provide the finances. Now, to me, for someone who wants to make money but not get their hands dirty or do a lot of work, sounds like a great strategy. The second one, they say invest in multifamily properties. Now, I know a number of people who actually do this. They have those small 4 or 6 unit apartment buildings that you see around the neighborhoods. They say any building containing over 4 units is technically quote unquote multifamily. Um, it offers obviously some benefits, multiple streams of income. If one person moves out, you're not reliant on just that person's income. For instance, where if you just had a house that you rented out, if you have 4 or 6 units, it's probably unlikely you're getting 4 and 6 people moving out at the same time. That would suck if that happens, but offers that opportunity for you. The third, they say invest in REITs, real estate investment trusts. Companies that hold and most often manage income producing real estate are known as REITs. The public can trade REITs on well known exchanges. Obviously, the risk there is the market fluctuations, that type of stuff. I'll get into all this with my guest who knows a lot more about this than I do. The fourth is something I'm not called. It's called the Burr method. BRRRR. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. They say it's a strategy whereby people can buy distressed real estate, rent it out, and use the equity to fund other investments. This is probably the one that people have heard about a lot more recently, especially in recent years. We hear people flipping, quote unquote, flipping houses. That's essentially what this refers to, in my estimation. Again, we'll talk to our expert in a second. Generational wealth is more attainable through real estate than people realize, they say, because it offers those 4 opportunities and so much more to turn your money into sustainable generational wealth if you do it right, have the right resources to do so. So I want to bring in my guest for this episode, Sam Sells. He's a real estate investor, capital raising expert, impact entrepreneur, and podcast host. We'll get to that. Sam Sells is a real estate investor, entrepreneur, and co-founder of Impact Global, Growth Capital. A retired U.S. Air Force officer, Sam has led the acquisition and management of over $200 million in commercial real estate assets with a focus on creating financial freedom and positive social impact. Love that last line, by the way. He is also the host of the Disruptive Capitalists podcast. Love that name, title, cool. Where he shares innovative strategies for building wealth and legacy by challenging traditional models. Sam specializes in capital raising, real estate development, and using business as a force for good. Love all that, by the way. Welcome to Dave's Head Podcast. Sam, how's it going?
Thank you, Dave. I'm doing amazing. Yeah, just amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, we're I talked about in my opening. We're heading into Memorial Day weekend this weekend, so I think we tend to just kind of get our spirits lifted up when that first signature holiday comes around. So, hopefully it's great weather where you are. It's kind of great today after a gloomy last week. So, hopefully it's great where you are. Um, I know
Yeah,
I gave a little small intro, but oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me. I'm here in Las Vegas this week, working a deal with a public housing authority. So um, I am in commercial real estate now. I think I've done all the things that you've talked about besides invest in a REIT. Um, but what we do is a little bit different. We work with public housing authorities to tear down slums and rebuild them into clean, safe housing. We work with all the residents there to transition them out and then transition them into the new facilities. And then we bring nonprofit support and our special software system that helps these residents get out of poverty, break the chains of poverty. And so we've been really razor focused on redevelopment of slums, distressed communities, places that America has forgotten because the biggest slumlord in America is America. And the Public Housing Authority owns 900,000 units. It's pretty insane. But we were just last week, we were in DC. My partner Duke Tanner and I were speaking with the Secretary of HUD about this issue, Scott Turner. And they're mad supportive of they're very supportive of our efforts to to take down these slums and get rid of the crime and create clean, safe places for people to live and become launch pads for them to get out of poverty and move on with their lives. So not only can you invest in a way that makes a difference in the world, you can also make a lot of money, or vice versa. If you can make a lot of money, you can make a lot of money and invest in a way that makes a difference through what you were just talking about.
Gotcha. Yeah. Normally, I ask my guests to tell me the audience who they are, what they do, what they're about. But the force of good line sticks out to me in your introduction and your bio, especially if you talk about. I think you said 900,000 properties the government owns.
900,000 homes, units, apartments, or
Right.
single family homes. The US government owns a lot,
Wow. I mean, that's
a
that's a
lot.
lot of opportunity to be a force of good, as you say, and have that
Mhm.
positive social impact that you talk about. Talk about your journey down this path. How did you get to this place in real estate where you're a champion for such positive change in neighborhoods?
So I grew up in rural Oklahoma. on a dirt road. There was a big part of our lives where we didn't have running water. Used to take baths in horse troughs, like just super dirt poor rural America. Just down the dirt road from the reservation, hung out with all the res kids. Um, you know, uh, I joined the military to get out of poverty. That's just like a lot of people do, and to get away, a path into school and everything else. And all my life, I've just been really, really interested in the that path to how that journey goes. So I started flipping homes back in 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Was flipping homes, never made it. All the shows glamorize flipping homes. Very, very, very few people actually make very much money flipping homes. You can make little chunks of cash, but then you immediately spend it on your next one and you're constantly broke. It's a vicious cycle. And so, um, 15 years into the military, I decided to throw everything I had, which is a solid $25,000, into and got my dad to join me, and he had 80 grand in his 401k, and we combined those together and we bought a couple mobile home parks. And when we bought mobile home parks, that changed everything. Within 6, 7 months, we were making 6 or 7 grand each in positive, free, clear cash flow. And I just thought, holy smokes, this is so much better. And from there we went on, but we designed that company from the very beginning to take on distressed housing that people had forgotten and clean it up and turn them into clean, safe places to live and make as much money as we possibly could in the process.
Yeah. So I have to wonder, a lot of these neighborhoods, as you say, distressed houses, are there entire neighborhoods that you're completely flipping over? Like, there's parts, I grew up in Philadelphia, there's parts of Philly or North Philly where the entire neighborhood is just distressed house, boarded house after boarded house. You go into those neighborhoods and completely change the face of the entire neighborhood, I assume.
Yeah, think about it this way. When you flip a house, you flip a house,
Hmm.
but you don't flip the community and you're not
Yeah.
changing the community, right? And if you're in a slum or distressed area, you change one house and then the community conquers that house, right?
Hmm.
And there's a lot of different things here at work, but what I realized 2008 and then 20, 2020, right before COVID, January 2020, I was in Cleveland and I was driving around a slum. I was just like, just looking at it, thinking about how do we change this where we don't get rid of all the people, we don't, harm poor people, but we also get rid of the environment. And the only way you do that is by doing the whole thing. And the only way you can get the whole thing is to have buy-in from the government. And so we've been working for years trying to learn that system, create the system that works. And we finally created a system that works. And it consistently can help people get out of poverty. And the way you do that is you work with the government, you get government contracts to come in, which makes it a profitable endeavor, very profitable for investors, in fact. And then you work with the people, you work with nonprofits who come and help support the people, and they create together we create paths for the people to get out of poverty. The reason why they're in poverty in the first place is because they don't know how to get out. The easiest thing for them to do to make money is to sell drugs because it's right there, right next to them, right? It's proximity, it's access, or violence, or robbing, or whatever, right? Because it's access. That's what they have access to. So we give them access to other channels to get out. Those access points, and then the real estate, we make money off the real estate, the access points, and the help we give other people so they can get off of welfare and into jobs making 50, 60 grand a year or more. That's the part we do because that's who we are, because we love people. We want to help them because that's who I was. That's where I came from. And so we've created this ecosystem that enables investors to make a lot of money off real estate, helping other people get out of poverty. It's pretty freaking cool.
Nice. And you talk about investors. Talk about the funding side of this. I think my calculations were 102,000, 120,000, I think it was. The combination of you and your dad's money.
Yeah,
How does somebody get into this who has 5,000, 10,000, $2,000? How does that? How do they get their foot in the door doing something like this?
exact the same way that I did. And that was you go find somebody who has money. And so you don't need money to get into this is like the biggest lie ever told, right? You have to get into single family, you have to get into single family. To me, there's 5 levels of real estate. And I didn't know this until I experienced them. And the one that everybody talks about is single family. That's what 99% of the gurus out there are talking about, single family. And that's level one. And that's the one that sucks the most. It's super hard to get wealthy doing single family homes. You have to buy a crap load of them. And everyone only makes a couple, like maybe you're making $100 a month, and then somebody breaks a toilet, and then you just lost an entire year's worth of profits. Like that sucks, right? So much better to go to level two, which is called syndication, like you brought up, where you pull together other people's capital. And really, if you've ever heard of companies like a bank, Wells Fargo, right? Any of those banks, what do? They take your money and somebody else's money and somebody else's money and somebody else's money, pull it together, and then they invest it. Those are syndications. They syndicate your money. So when I say you can pull other people's capital, like I raised money from my dad, and then I raised money from my friends, 5, 10, 20, 25,000, $50,000. We pulled that money together, and then that's how we started buying more apartment complexes, mobile home parks, and everything else. I didn't have the cash anymore because I spent my 25K. So somebody with $5,000, they can still do the exact same thing. They just need to know how. They need to have a path. They need to have a mentor, a guide to show them the way, and then they can do it.
So why is this real estate venture, this program that you have, better than just say investing in the stock market or just putting some money, keeping money in 401k and just riding it out to retirement?
Look, so accredited investors in with me. So if you're an accredited investor and you invest with me right now in my what's called a co-GP stakes fund, it's pretty sophisticated. But if you're an accredited investor, meaning you make over 200 grand a year, or you and your significant tax partner make over $300,000 a year, or you're worth over $1 million, you can invest with me, and my investment fund should return a 3x over 5 years because of government leverage and everything else. And you get to help out the environment, or you get to help out people, a lot of people, right? Now, if you're not an accredited investor, you can still leverage your returns. In a syndication, you're generally looking at 15% a year annualized returns for a decent syndication. Um, that's way better than you're going to get in um, I mean, if you in stocks or bonds, plus you get tax benefits and everything else. It's just a much better model than 401ks are terrible. It's just a gigantic scheme
Yeah.
to make people feel
Yeah,
comfortable.
mine's taking a hit this year, a big
Yeah.
hit this
Uh,
year.
but the thing is, it's like it's what we have access to, right? It's what we know about.
Hmm.
Everybody knows about 401ks because people tell us about 401ks. They don't tell us about the
Yeah.
syndications. They tell us about the 401ks because that's how they get paid. They make money selling us 401ks.
Yeah, I mean, before I did this research for this episode, I had never heard of syndication before. I think I may have heard of the model, but I never heard it referred to as syndication.
Check this out. So today, the Sears Tower in New York City is for sale. The Sears Tower, right?
Okay.
It's like right next to the Empire State Building. It's one of the most iconic buildings in New York City. It will
Hmm.
be purchased through a syndication. The Empire State
Which
Building was
benefits
sold, and
multiple
it's
people.
multiple investors coming together and buying it. It'll be sold through a syndication. It happens every day, and we have no idea. I grew up poor. I'd never heard of syndications until I started trying to
Hmm.
figure out how to raise capital, and then I learned.
So you talked about your military, Air Force, I believe you said, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Talk about that experience just a little bit and how it relates to what you're doing today, how you got there, and how you use that experience.
So while I was in the military, I was a firefighter at first. So I was flipping homes on my off days, and then because we worked 24-hour shifts, 24 on, 24 off. And then I got out of the military, finished my college degree. 2009 crash happened. I came back in the military as an officer, got into healthcare, and then eventually got into went to Afghanistan as soon as I could and got involved in global health ever since. So I spent over a decade in global health, working with the poorest countries on the planet: Afghanistan, Chad, some of these others. And I remember I was in N'Djamena, Chad. Uh, Same experience again as Liberia, as all these different places. And I just thought, it all comes back to the home. Like where you are at in your house, where you grow up is really kind of what opportunities you have. And I kept thinking, how can I change that? How can I make a difference? And if I want to grow that difference, I need to do it in a way that makes money. Because if people make money helping other people, they will do it over and over and over again. And if I want to start a movement of people helping other people, I need it to make a lot of money for a lot of people. And that's really kind of where, like being in the military, being in those situations is where the idea for the companies came from. And then we 15 years in, I finally went out and did it.
Yeah, before we get into lessons learned, I like to, when I have guests on that do things that impact people, I like to hear about some of the positive stories that come from it. So if you have a one of your favorite positive results or something that's
Yeah.
happened that you know of, can you share that?
Yeah. This is a sad story, but it's very, very real. So, um, 2 years ago, in Dallas Fort Worth, at our property flats at Brentwood, we took over this property. When I arrived, it had seven sewage leaks. The place smelled terrible. I saw people stealing stuff. The day we closed on the property, the SWAT team arrived. Um, and it's just a rough, rough place. 15 years of neglect. Can't be good. Right. Can't be good. So there was this lady that used to, as we changed this community around, there was a lady who used to come to the office, and she would come in and she would just help herself to the coffee and the snacks in the back, like she always did. And so as Kathy would go and help herself, and it was fine. We freely give. And the property manager said one day that Kathy didn't show up. And so she called on Kathy. It's like, hey, Kathy, I haven't seen you in a couple days. Kathy had um, she had cancer. She had 2 months left to live. She was dying of cancer, and Kathy had just lost her job. And she told her manager, hey, I can't work anymore, and I can't pay rent because you lose your job right there, you're done, right? And so our property manager calls us up and says, hey, Kathy can't pay rent. And of course, we feel terrible, but then we do something about it. So my brother, who runs our operation, he immediately calls Rainwater Charities, says, hey, can you come out and take care of Kathy? And then he calls Women in Crisis and a number of other entities. And before you know it, we have Kathy 3 meals a day are delivered to Kathy. We have her rent covered. We have her utilities covered. We have transportation provided for Kathy. Kathy um, does pass away in 2 months. We had her family there, um, and everything was covered. By law, I have to evict somebody who doesn't pay rent. It's the law. It's the Fair Housing Act. Don't believe me, it's there. We cannot give free rent. And so by law, I should have evicted Kathy. Most people would have said, I'm sorry, I hope you die soon because I need to turn the unit, right? Or I need to get you out. Um, But what we did was we did what was right. We reached out to people who took care of her. Not only did they take care of her, they fed her. She was fed, taken care of all the way till the end. That is what it means to be what I call a disruptive capitalist. You can disrupt the system and take care of people, and you still make money in the process. We can be good stewards, and we collected more rent. Turnover was a breeze. um, all those other things. But Kathy was taken care of. So that's what really, really matters. If you do that for people, then they take care of you. That property went from, there was a murder on the property before we closed. That place is very, very safe. The city council has come to us and they said, Sam, how in the world did you do it? I said, do what? And they said, you reduced crime by 75% at your property. The next best operator reduced it by 33%. You guys are at 75%. What did you do? Do you guys do cameras? I said, no. Do you do gates? No. Do you have police escorts? Nope. Do you razor wire? No. Guys with guns? No. We cleaned up the property and we took care of our people. That's it. And gave them a
Wow,
path.
and I'm sure, even though the sad part is that Kathy, I think you said her name was right,
Mhm.
she did pass away, but I can imagine that the last few months of her lives were made so much better because of the things that you and your company and all the resources you brought together did for her. So I mean, that's an amazing, amazing story.
Those resources exist. People just don't either know about them or
Yeah,
they don't take the time to go find them and put them together
right.
and then take care of people. Because it's a lot of time and
Yeah,
effort to make this stuff happen, but you just need to do it.
the second side of that, you don't take time, it bothers me more than the first side that they don't know about them. Because in the world of technology and internet and everything, even the
Yeah.
least competent technical person can go find it, but it's the lack of effort to go find it that drives me nuts. But whole different topic of
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
So on the other side, and not as negative, but starting this out, what's the biggest lesson that you learned from this that you wish you'd known 2001 to when you first started all this?
So coming out of the military, I believed that people operate by a code or like there's like some kind of level of integrity. And unfortunately, like we've ran into people who, sellers of the property who lie, cheat, and steal. Um, Directly to your face, just bold face, outright lie. And then attorneys who weren't savvy enough to uh, do good documents for us. And so one of the things that I've learned is very early on is if I don't have a mentor that I pay money to pay for their time to help me, I will lose so much more money, time, effort, expense dealing with the savagery of liars and people who have no integrity, who will gladly steal from you to get just a little bit more money. And so um, we are savvy now because of the hard lessons we've learned. Um, but without a doubt, number one lesson is find a mentor early, pay them the money it costs for their time because they're worth it. I know guys who pay their mentors 500,000 a year, 1 million a year. I know guys who pay a lot of money. If you pay a mentor, like I hired a mentor at the beginning, I think I paid him $15,000, and then I found out later that I knew more about stuff than he did because I'd done more deals. Like, what am I doing? I'm paying the wrong guy. I paid another guy more money, and he saw my problem in a minute.
Yeah, I
And
was going to say,
yeah,
what's the ROI on that, or how do you hold a mentor? I mean, because they're paying for something, so you're paying for service, whether it's mentorship or future profit. But what's the ROI that someone should expect, and how do you hold that mentor accountable? But like you said, the mentor who you wound up knowing more than. What I mean, I'm assuming that relationship isn't still mentor mentee today. But
oh,
how
it's
do you
not when
hold that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look for a 10x. So if I'm going to spend $25,000 on a mentor, okay, then I should expect that I should get at least $250,000 worth of value back. Now, here's the problem. If my mentor tells me to do stuff and then I don't go do it, why am I going to get mad at the mentor? I can't. I didn't do what he told me to go do. And so I've had people come to me, pay me money. I'm like, great, go do these things. Do this single thing every single day, and you will never have a problem with that ever. Checking back in with them. You doing it? No. Check back in. You doing it? No. I'm like, I can't help you. If you can't be a good mentee, I cannot help you. And so you have to be a good mentee. You have to be able to go and do the work, take the notes, write it down, and then suck it up and go out there and put yourself out there and do the things you need to do. It's the only reason why I went from zero, nothing, knowing nothing, to now I'm negotiating a $300 million deal today.
Very nice. So you touched on it a little bit, the disruptive capitalist, but talk about that mission for the podcast and also why innovation and legacy matter more now than ever.
I think we've seen where these big companies like Blackstone, BlackRock, these machines that are just so capitalistic, they churn people out, right? They don't, it's not about people, it's not about humans, it's about numbers. It's about numbers, about numbers, about numbers. Pedigrees, did you go to Harvard and Yale or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I hate that stuff. Like growing up poor, like I hate that stuff. And so that like we can disrupt that machine. Like we don't have to be we capitalists at the cost of the human condition. We do not have to push everybody down, kick them in the face on our way up to climb our self-righteous ladder to success, right? And so to me, disrupting the machine and saying we can be good humans, we can take care of other people, we can be great to others, we can help, we can lift where we stand, we can build movements that make a difference, we can change society, we can get rid of this stupid welfare system that just sucks people in and traps them on purpose, so now we can control them. Like, that stuff, we can disrupt all that stuff. We can, but we have to, just like with Kathy, we just have to make the effort, take the time to go create, either find the resources or create the resources that make all the difference. And today it's easier now than ever before to do that. You have AI, you have all these tools like at your fingertips. You can go on to AI and say, on ChatGPT or Claude or whatever these programs, and say, hey, I'm 17 years old. I live in um, New Jersey on the bad side of town. My brother got shot yesterday. What can I do to get out? What can I do to start making money? What can I do? And that thing will tell you. It'll tell you what you can do.
Yeah,
And then you need to go do it.
compared to when we grew up, and I'm
Yeah.
putting us in a bucket, even though we may or may not be close in age, but I'll be 48 this year. Yeah, Whew,
Yeah.
getting up there. We grew up with different
46.
tools. We didn't have these tools and the amount of resources and the pathways. There's so many pathways to get out. This opportunity, real estate, I think is one of the big ones for generational wealth. And you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. The biggest roadblock you see to people not being able to get and find that generational wealth path, what do you think that is?
Without a doubt, the biggest roadblock is mindset.
Hmm.
The tools are there.
Yeah.
Like if you have a phone, you can be a millionaire, right? Hey, chat, how can I be a millionaire based off where I am today? It'll tell you, right? Just ask it questions and it will tell you. Free. You got YouTube, Instagram, listen to any of those talking heads that don't suck, and which is kind of hard to figure out sometimes, but find a path and follow it, right? Cody Sanchez, Dan Martell, any of these people that have real legit systems that help people. But mindset is, oh, I don't trust my phone because it's tracking. Well, yeah, it is tracking you. It's tracking all of us. Just get over it and then move on to how do I get myself out of poverty? The other thing is like the mental barrier that don't trust them, don't trust this, don't trust that. That's fine. Create your own path, but find a mentor who has gotten out of the path and listen to them. Stop listening to your other poor friends who don't believe that they can get out. And so when you say, I'm getting out, they don't believe you either. And they're going to try and tell you no. So stop listening to them and create your own mindset of success.
Yeah, I mean, there's the old adage that in order to be successful, you surround yourself with successful people, people who've done it. Now, that was going to be my last question for this segment, but I'm going to throw one more in there. When you talk about mentors and finding a mentor, what's a big red flag, especially in real estate or specifically in real estate? What's a big red flag in a mentor who can, guide you in real estate?
They've never failed.
Hmm.
They say, I've never lost money. I'm done. My mentors now have either been to jail, they've been bankrupt, like gone bankrupt and lost everything, have made millions, lost millions. Um, these are guys and gals who have gone through hell. Those are the mentors I like because
Yeah,
I've
not
gone through hell
not
and I
that
know.
failure isn't a good attribute to have, but jail kind of threw me off. I wasn't expecting that to be the first one, but
Look,
yeah, it's life experiences.
life experiences. Look, in syndication, when in raising money, if you do it wrong, you can go to jail.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, the guy that I have him as a mentor, Dan Martell's one of my mentors. So it like he went to jail as a young guy doing dumb stuff, and then rechanneled himself into doing things that make money. He is really, really good at making money. Just one of his company makes over $2 million a month for him, right? It's like two and a half, but he takes home about two a month, 2 million a month from one of his companies. So it's just like people figure out the system on how to raise or how to make money, and then it's just a system. It's always a system. You just have to learn how to use it, and then you need to go do it. It takes a long time to create, but it's the systems are already there. The
Sam,
mentors
you're
who've been through hell.
inspiring me.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
You're inspiring me right now to quit my job and cash in my 401k and just do some investing or something. 2 million a month, I would take that in a heartbeat.
You can't take it. You got to create it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You have to create it. And so, yeah, 401k, I tell everybody, cash that sucker in, man. It's not worth beans. But you just have to be really, focused on what it is that, um, how you deploy that capital. And I would say a mentor who can guide you, hands down, probably the best investment.
Okay. Definitely something I'm going to look into personally for my audience. If you like 2 million a month, put the work in and get yourself a mentor. But
It's possible.
that's all. Oh, good.
No, it's possible. You can do it. Like you can do
Yeah.
it.
That's all for the Q&A segment. So before we get to the next segment with my guests, first I want to talk about First Thoughts, sponsored by or brought to you by Live Podcast Network. Dave's Head Podcast is now a part of the Live Podcast Network, home of Black Voices, where community, culture, and creatives lives. Dave's Head Podcast adds to a catalog of over 70 titles available on the Live Podcast Network app and on both iOS and Android. Check out Dave's Head Podcast and many others in the Live Podcast app, the home of Black Voices. Now, Sam, the way First Thoughts works is, and for those who are tuning in for the first time, I offer my guest a phrase or a word to get their first thought. Now, obviously, Sam has not been privy to this because I kind of would ruin the whole idea of first thought. Sam, you ready for some first thoughts?
Let's do it.
All right. So first thought: real estate leveraging. What's your first thought?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. You could feel free to elaborate a little bit if you want to.
It's why real estate is so amazing is you can leverage other people's money to make money for yourself. And so whether that's the bank's money, whether that's other investors' money, you can create an enormous amount of wealth in real estate without any of your own money.
Hmm.
It's it's incredible.
It's a great. You actually your face beamed up when I said that phrase. um, all right. So number two, first thought: impact investing. What's your first thought?
Love. I love impact investing. I love impact investors, people who want to make a difference in the world and then use their money and grow their money helping other people. Like to me, that's the best. It's alignment.
Okay. And clearly, just from the stories you told, that's kind of the foundation of what you do.
Yeah,
So it's really good to. I mean, these positive stories. I think about flipping houses and real estate and those types of things. I don't think about that other side of things. I mean, you hear people say words like gentrification in
I hate
neighborhoods
that
and people
word.
getting kicked out, but
Yeah.
yeah, you do something that seems like it keeps the community together, builds them up, gives them a the paint on your car makes a difference, right, between what's called a luxury car and a old jalopy, right? So
Right.
beautificating, if that's a real word, a neighborhood has a big impact on the people who live there. So
Only if you keep the people there. Like gentrification, where you move out all the minorities and you move in rich people, mostly white, probably, is just just a sucky model.
Hmm.
I don't like that model.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that. Last first thought, debt free. What's your first thought?
two thoughts. Freedom is debt. Personal debt is slavery, bondage, right? Um, but real estate on the investment side, debt is leverage, and leverage creates freedom. And so if you own all your properties free and clear, you are very, very free, I guess, but you're also living under your means, or you're not creating the possibilities. Now, if all you want is complete sense of mind that you don't have anyone to ever answer to, not even in on your investments, fine. That's great. But if your intent is to grow and create legacy that you can pass down to your kids and your kids and kids, like you need that.
Okay, so that's the end of first thoughts. And what I started last season was offering the opportunity to my guests to throw a first thought back at me. So, Sam, if you had something you wanted to shoot at me as a first thought, what would it be?
What's next?
What's next? For me, some more research on real estate and my 401k and what I can do with it. Because you're right. And, just looking at the way the market has been the last 6, 8 months, something like that. We're in May. So, yeah, 6, 8 months. The value roller coaster more down than up. And so this is something that I've had zero impact or zero influence on to see, 5, 6 digit losses for some people and probably even more than that. But to see something that I can't touch, I had no positive or negative impact on, lose value, even if it is just numbers in the computer at this point, because it's not something I can hold in my hand. But it's to look at other ways and other options. If it's pulling out a 401k, like you said, that whole system, it's taking that money, investing, and seeing if that can spawn the generational wealth path that I hope to be on someday. That's probably what's next for me. Doing the research for this episode got my mind kind of sparking a little bit on, am I doing the right things with the money that I have? And so this conversation's only made that whole feeling worse, to tell you the truth. So that's probably what's next for me.
That's wonderful. You heard a different perspective, and then it sparked ideas. This is how we create new paths. You have to have access to a different way of doing things. Not just the way, but the people who can then connect you to doing those things. Recently, I've made connections with people who have, was able to bring me into Scott Turner and the new Secretary of HUD, and then like that access point creates massive value when other people that I've met have created massive value for me, and I've been able to create massive value for them. When you can create massive value for them, that's when things get really exciting. But those connections enable us to break wherever we are at the ceiling and go way beyond it.
Well, I
So
mean, the other
wonderful.
part of this, the other side of this too, and I'll admit this is a selfish reason, but I'd like to retire on a beach somewhere for the rest of my life at some point. Our life expectancy as men is in the mid 70s, and I think it actually dropped a year in the last 2 years. But, I'd rather spend the last 15, 20 years of my life sitting on the beach drinking, margaritas or
Yeah.
something, as opposed to working until I'm maxed out and then, I got 5 years until I drop dead. I'd rather take the way to do that is to build generational wealth. So I don't have to work and I don't have to do all these things at that stage. Obviously, I got to do the work to get there. But that's the motivation I think a lot of people have. But it's something that I think this conversation, like I said, the research leading up to this episode kind of sparked that thought process. I have friends who are real estate investors as well as real estate agents, and so they've tried to get me to start thinking about some of this stuff. But this has sparked a lot more. So that for
Yeah.
that, I thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I would definitely consider real estate agents struggle so much. Some of them make money, but it's just such a hard way to make money in real estate. It's great to learn a lot about real estate, but it's still playing the game at level one when you can go to
Mm-hmm.
level two, level three, level four. Um, Level five is almost impossible, but most people never even get to level two, which is syndications, investing, passive or active. Um, there's there's at level three, people will come and give you 5, 10, 20, $30 million checks to invest in real estate with you. And so we have a project here where two different groups have said that they're willing to invest over $30 million in the project with us. Now, it's just a different world, and you never know until you start learning about this different world. And so it behooves us that once we know and understand that we should share that information with others and help them.
Oh, now that you talked about level three with $30 million checks, I'm curious what level four and level five are.
So this is how I rate it. Level one is a one-man band. You're doing single family real estate or small multifamily. All yourself, your company, you're the owner and everything else. No one got far by themselves. Nobody does. The only way you can go up is with other people. And if you're a one-man band and you don't want anybody else, then you're staying at level one and it's all on you. Level two, you start bringing in other people, and that's, syndication, where there's other investors, partners, and so forth. The more partners, the people you bring in, the more you can do. But now you are raising other people's money and you're owning and operating the properties and you're doing all the work. Level three is when you have done sufficient of those that you can capture the attention of funds, big funds, family offices, very, very wealthy families. They don't want to do the work. They just want their money to grow. And so they're looking for somebody to operate this 150 unit, 250 unit apartment complex, or storage facilities or warehouse, industrial warehouse complex. They're not going to do it. They have lots of money. Like you said, you're going to go retire on the beach. They're not retiring on the beach. They have so much money they can go wherever they want and do whatever they want. They're out there creating more value in other ways, things that they like to do. And so they need to place their billions of dollars in cash or hundreds of millions of dollars of cash. And so they need an operator. That's level three. So then they come to the operator and say, tell me about your project. I like it. I'll fund 90% of it or 80% of it or 50%. And they'll give you a check. And a lot of those are like, our minimum check size is $20 million. So you have to be doing a big enough project that we can give you $20 million. And then that's that. And that's level three. Level four is you become that fund manager or that institution who has all the capital, and you're giving it to operators and you're making them do the work. And then you are managing the operator, or really your team is managing the operator. So you're out of the day-to-day grind. And level five is you're a big public entity. And because you're public, you can raise capital, billions of dollars in cash very easily.
Wow.
Nobody
Yeah,
knows
I mean
those
that's.
fast.
I think I'd be happy with level four at this point, but
Yeah,
level. I'll start with level two.
yeah. Level
Level
two,
five
start.
seems like a lot of headache. Not
Oh,
headache, but just a lot. Yeah,
you gotta, you're an empire. Like you have to be an
yeah,
empire builder. You want an empire. Those guys will never retire. They will die.
yeah,
Building.
yeah. 85, 90 years old, still sitting in boardrooms and signing checks and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's all about what you want, right? That's what they want,
Yeah,
but that's not what you want.
yeah. All right, Sam, this is a great conversation. I do want to thank you for stepping in Dave's head, as I always do with my guests. Before I let you go, if there's anything you want to talk about or promote, feel free to do so.
Yeah, we're actively raising money for working with public housing authorities and tearing down distressed housing and rebuilding them. We're also have our special system that helps people get out of poverty that we're working with authorities. So if you know a public housing authority, you are a public housing authority, you just want your public housing authority to stop running slums and actually take care of their people, then and some of them do take care of their people. I don't want to slight them all. But feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Samuel Sells, or send me an email, sam@impactgrowthcap.com. You can check our website out, impactgrowthcap.com. And let me know. And if you're a accredited investor and you care about other people and you want to make the world a better place, then please reach out. We've got some great opportunities.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing this story, number one. And two, just sharing that the positive things that can come from real estate investing and all that, because you don't hear about these stories, you don't hear about these opportunities, really. When you hear real estate, you hear people talk about real estate. So very refreshing to hear that one, that's the mission and the foundation behind it is going in and making things better, not just making money, which is also refreshing today. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for that.
absolutely, Dave. Anytime.
All right, Sam. As I've said all season, I kind of started this thing I'm saying with all my guests. May every today be the best day of your life. Thanks for
Thank you.
stepping to Dave's head.
Thanks, Dave.
My absolute favorite segment of my podcast is My GRIN, which stands for Great Reason to Be in Love with Now. Now, I talked a bit about spring cleaning and the trauma. No, I'm just kidding, not trauma. The experience of doing that this past weekend with my TO. Memorial Day weekend offers an opportunity to relax and gather with friends and family. And the day this episode drops is the start of Memorial Day weekend. I would like to first, before I get to my grin, offer you a moment to be in love with now. Yes, if you're out driving, there will be a lot of traffic. More traffic means a possibility of encountering a little more people who are really bad at driving. Woosah, bring it down, get from A to B, and then relax. It'll be okay. I promise you. Put some jazz on, put some music on, put your favorite song on that you like to dance to or makes you laugh, something. Don't stress out about the driving. It'll be okay. But just like this time of the year provides an opportunity for you to clean your home, it offers the same opportunity for you with your life. Sustainable Bliss Collective at sustainableblissco.com is a website that offers a space for connection, collaboration, and self care, their self stated goal. A journey entry from Jasmine Urban entitled Ultimate Life Spring Cleaning Guide, physically, mentally, and emotionally. She talks about each season comes from the opportunity to create new routines and rituals that reestablish this feeling of peace. Peace is always a bag, as I say. Spring, they say, or she says, is also a time of natural purification, healing, rejuvenation, and is often suggested as a good period of cleansing. The ultimate, quote, life spring cleaning guide talks about physically, mentally, and emotionally things that you can do. Now, starting with physically, she says, and I'm just not going to go through every single bullet point that she had, but I'm going to highlight a couple for each of those three areas, which are physically, mentally, and emotionally. Physically, shift your diet. She says clean out your fridge and cupboards to get rid of any foods that are past expiry or that no longer serve the season of your life. Number one, yes, I hear my TO. She says I keep things past expiration. A little fun fact for you. While I was cleaning out the garage, I found 2 cases of beer, a Heineken and a Corona. Both were expired. Now, I did share this on social media because I was curious. Number one, can you drink expired beer? I got very mixed reviews. I did a poll actually on my Instagram as well. 75% of people said do not drink that beer. 25% said absolutely drink that beer. But then someone inboxed me and said that they worked for a distributor and they would be given expired beer, usually every month or a month and a half or 2 months, whatever he said, to take home with them. And so it led me to the conclusion that I guess you can drink expired beer. If people were given expired beers, workers were given expired beers because I guess people wouldn't buy them if they looked at expiration dates. Which, by the way, I've never looked at expiration dates on a case of your beer before, but I think I should start doing that because I've never even thought about beer expiring. Think about it. Secondly, focus on consuming seasonal foods that are available and grown locally, more vegetables and herbs and things like that, things that you get locally. Avocados, those types of things. Avocados I love. Drink clean filtered water as much as possible. Admittedly, I probably don't drink enough water. I can't stand the taste of water. It's one of the things that I force feed myself to do. I don't really think about the taste that much anymore. And I'm not one of those people that are going to throw lemons or limes in their water just to get the taste to taste a little better. Because technically I don't think it does taste much better. But I do try to drink more water. I'm getting back to my habit of drinking a bottle before bed and a bottle when I wake up in the morning. It has health benefits. Not going to cover it, but do the research. It has benefits to drinking water, especially when you first wake up in the morning. Again, on physically, next thing, try new movement. Now, this is walking or running outside. As it gets warmer and you can walk around your neighborhood, great opportunity to do that. At home workouts, which I do, although I've been slacking the past week. At home workouts are a great way. YouTube videos for workouts are tons and tons and tons of options. Usually, back in the day, you would have to purchase these DVD sets or whatever to see some quality at home workouts, but you have YouTube now, which can show you all types of things. Stretching, be kind to your body, she says. Yeah, and that's one thing I'm actually going to look into doing a lot more of myself. I do have videos that I watch for stretching and things like that, but they have this like stretch type of facility place not far from me that I want to check out and see, if someone physically is stretching me, if that's a better option. Flexibility is a good thing to have as you get older. Looking at mentally, she says, first, clean, declutter, and refresh your space. Clean your home. Digital cleanse. Social media cleanse. Touching on each of those sub descriptions really quickly, she says, for cleaning your home, be honest with yourself when going through your items. Does it serve a purpose? Does it make you happy? If you could go back, would this item be something that you would buy? I had asked myself that a lot this past weekend during the spring cleaning, but it's a true statement. And talking about my minimalistic living that I talked about in my opening, does it serve its purpose? I have a coaster sitting on my desk right now I don't really use. It's kind of something for my fraternity. It's a nice piece to have, but what purpose does it serve other than taking up space on my desk? It looks nice. It's nice because it's something that means something to me, an organization that means something to me, but does it actually need to be there? Do I need to have it? Digital cleanse, delete what you no longer need and or anything that's not good use of your time. Organize what you do need so you can easily find it and back up everything that's important to you. Now, of course, I'm a technical person. I'm very tech savvy and technically literate. And so I utilize tools to do organization, but I have a ton of data, not only on my main computers, but also that gets backed up every single night. And so that's one thing I will say, just a little tidbit of information here. If you can pay for online storage, it's a great thing to do. If, God forbid your house burns down or your computer crashes or you get a virus that takes everything out, if you have your data backed up somewhere, it makes getting that stuff back so much easier. And for me, because of the different things, hats that I wear and things that I do, having that data backed up is very important, especially for clients I work with and things like that, to be able to bring that stuff back very quickly. And social media cleanse, go through social media accounts and unfriend or unfollow any accounts that don't bring you joy. Consider this. Is this person still in my life? Am I following this account because I want to or because I feel I need to? Do I enjoy the content on this account? Does this account align with my values? All great questions. How you determine your social connections is your, checkbox list, your criteria. But those are some important questions to ask if those questions fit how you connect socially. Like, you may not even know people. There are people I communicate with on social media. I met through social media. I have no idea who they are in their personal life. Like, I never met them face to face is what I'm saying. But we've had great conversations, whether political, sports, whatever. So how you clean your social media, which is something I need to do, to tell you the truth. How you clean it is based on your criteria, but those are some good questions to ask if those questions mean something to you. Second area, mentally, bring more clarity around your values and priorities. Do a brain dump. Review your recent to-do lists and projects to create an inventory. And get clear on your goals for the next quarter. Diving into each of those. Once you've written everything down, as far as a brain dump, decide what you need to take action on. Now, my brain dump will be digital, on my phone or on my iPad or laptop or whatever technical device I decide to do it on. You get the point. It wouldn't be pen and paper, most likely, but it would be something of the electronic sort. But it's a great thing. Now, and I also use digital task lists, so it'd probably be something I just put in my task list and then I just slide up and down priority. That's probably what I would do. But a brain dump is important, I think, also because you don't know what you have not accounted for until you just dump it all out of your brain. And it also may spark things that you didn't think of or haven't thought of for a while, or you might have deprioritized that can get a bump or much deserving bump up the list. Your recent to-do list and projects and creating an inventory What are tasks and projects that will actually make a difference in your life? Is there anything you can take off your project list? Anything that you can delegate? Again, brain dumping, organizing, all the same vein. As far as projects, for me, it's about what project can I accomplish in the time that I'm setting aside and allocating to do projects, right? It's not just my list of things that I know are projects that I have every single day, but it's actually what things can I do, big project, small project, whatever, with the time that I'm able to allocate and say, this is for projects, this is for that. Get clear on your goals for next quarter. Reflect on what you've accomplished so far this year. Revisit your yearly goals and see where changes need to be made, and determine what goals are important to you to accomplish in the next couple of months. Now, some people don't do New Year's resolutions. Some people do. Some people don't do goals. Some people do. Whatever method you use to feel personally achieving, as we get into the summer months, it's a great time to kind of assess where you are in the year, assess your progress, assess what you've achieved, add new goals, change your goals, whatever. Whatever you like to get done this year, as we get into the summer months or this time of the year, spring cleaning time of the year, assessing your goals, your performance in those goals, or reevaluating, those goals. It's a great time to do that. The last one is spiritually. And so 3 areas she talks about. Raise your vibration. Quote, when something vibrates at a lower frequency, it feels heavy, whereas things vibrating with a higher frequency feel lighter, more at ease, physically and emotionally. The second thing is allow yourself space for unhurried self-care. And the third one, connect with your purpose. And so dive into each of those things, raising your vibration. She says things simply as open the window, let some fresh air come in. Bring more plants into your home. My TO will love that, by the way. My favorite of the list, and this list was very encompassing, many more things than what I'm talking about, meditate. And so that's something I used to do, especially COVID brought the meditation beast out of me because that's, you're sitting alone, can't go anywhere, you don't really have friends over that much or as much as you're used to, or at least for me. And so being outside, sitting on my deck, it's warmer months, so I love sitting in the sun anyway. Meditation. Now, it may involve me putting on some jazz, pouring old fashioned, that type of thing. But sitting in silence, no TV, no social media, no music sometimes, and just listening to the surrounding sounds. And it, brings the calm into you. Some people, especially during COVID, and I talked about this way, way back during COVID, but some people utilize meditation as well because they were very, very antsy, concerned about COVID, getting it, spreading it, the effects of it, living through it, that type of stuff. And so meditation helped a lot of people get through those quiet moments, that alone time during COVID. So allowing yourself space for unhurried self-care. Here's what she says. Try something creative, right? Build, like my TO said, build a she shed. Go do some gardening. If you're like me, you're not going to do this, but maybe do some drawing, right? I'm not an artist. Like, I got a stick figure for you, and that's all I got. Learn something new. Maybe it's pasta making. Did that last year. Love it. I think it was last year. Pasta making class, or take a cooking lesson. I have a guitar downstairs, which I need to spend more time with, learning to play the guitar. I literally have to start over from lesson 0 because I just haven't had time to pick it up in a long time. Third one, cultivate new habits that serve this season of your life. Sipping coffee or tea slowly on your patio, cooking more meals at home, going on nature walks, reading a new book, those types of things. Allow yourself for unhurried self-care. And the last one, connect with your purpose. It's a lot easier to thrive and feel motivated to make progress on your dreams and goals when they're connected to a bigger purpose. Things she talks about, like journaling prompts, things to write down. Again, brain dumping. But here's some of the questions she poses as journaling prompts. What does your dream life look like? How does it feel? What are you spending your days doing? The next one, if you were to fast forward your life to the end, what would you regret most not doing? That's a tough one. The third one, what would you do if money was no concern? I always think that's a question that's very familiar to me, but I always think that's an interesting one because if you take money out of it, there's probably a lot of things that people would do, but what's that one thing that you would do if money wasn't a concern? And probably the biggest brain teaser one, I think, of the list that she had, and again, I'm not giving you all of them, but the fourth one here is, what do you feel your mission is on this planet? That's a journaling entry right there. If you can sit and marinate on that and come up with an answer, that's an interesting one there. So check out Sustainable Bliss Collective and check out that journal entry from Jasmine Irvin, Ultimate Life Spring Cleaning Guide, physically, mentally, and emotionally. I think there's some valuable things that you can do. Spring cleaning, inner cleaning, your self cleaning, and some things that you can maybe improve your mental health, your physical health, emotional health, all those things from the suggestions she made. Check it out. I want to thank Sam Sells, real estate investor, capital raising expert, impact entrepreneur, for stepping in Dave's head. And I got to tell you, after we stopped recording, I told him that you don't hear these types of positive stories as relates to a money-making industry like he told, right? People get in real estate, money. It's all about money. Money, 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 capitalism, capitalism, capitalism. Whew, say that 3 times fast. But to hear the things he's doing in the communities to make the communities better, not just exteriorly, looking at the houses, they look better than they did before, but also uplifting the people that live in those communities and not displacing the people in those communities is an amazing story, an applause word. And I told him that after we stopped the recording, just to reiterate again how impressed I was to hear that type of thing happening in today's society, because we know how messed up, to be very polite, the society is sometimes. Check out his website, impactgrowthcap.com, and check him out on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Samuel Sells. Lastly, before I let you go, every episode I give you a quote to take with you. This one's from William Morris. William Morris was an English textile designer, poet, artist, writer, and socialist activist associated with the British arts and crafts movement. It's a lot there. But the quote goes like this: "Have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful." The thing about spring cleaning and the ultimate cleaning, yourself, your inner self, your exterior self, your person, is when you stop and look at the stuff that you have, whether it's stuff going on in your body, stuff going on in your mind, stuff in your house, wherever. And if you just look at it simply as a checkbox of useful and not useful, there's a lot of baggage, quote unquote baggage, that we all can free ourselves from. Whether it's guilt, whether it's a coaster on a desk, whether it's a high school graduation picture of a baby-faced boy. Only keeping the things that we believe to be beautiful in our lives, in our hearts, in our minds, in our houses makes for a better environment, generally speaking. You walk into your house and you see clutter, you feel overwhelmed, you feel stuck in a place, you feel weighed down. If you're in your mind and it's clear, you're in your heart and it's clear, talking about that heavy and light that the article was talking about. The more light things you have in your world, your house, your mind, your heart, the better your existence will be on this planet. And so if nothing comes from the spring cleaning that I'm not going to say forced to do, I cooperated with, T.O., do an inventory, head to toe of your life. And if it's not beautiful, get rid of it. So impact investing and spring cleaning, both great reasons to be in love with now. That's all for this episode of Dave's Head. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm sure you'll love similar content in the Alive Podcast Network app. Plus, you can support this podcast and enjoy ad-free listening to nearly 100 other Black-hosted podcasts. Download the iOS or Android app, become a member, and experience unlimited access to Black-hosted content week after week. Follow, like, and or subscribe to this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and or X at Dave's Head Pod, and on YouTube at Dave's Head Podcast. For more information and links to all things Dave's Head, check out our website at daveshead.card.co. Episode premiere on the 2nd and 4th Fridays of the month. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, enjoy life because life should be fun. Take care.